Hi everyone, it's Carly from Cancard. Today we're going to be looking at a video which was made by David Raynes of the National Drug Prevention Alliance, who made a video about Cancard. And under the right to reply, I just thought it'd be good to have a look at it and challenge some of the points that he brought up. So here goes.
The concerns are that it isn't the job of the Police Chiefs Council and or the Police Federation to signify the state's consent to what is an illegal scheme. Because it's illegal because it hasn't been approved by Parliament.
So on that point, what I would say is that it definitely is the role of the National Police Chiefs Council and the Police Federation to decide what their operational priorities should be. And in this case, what they have witnessed is a two-tier system in that patients who can afford and get access to medical cannabis from a private clinic, they present with a piece of paper which gives them legal immunity from prosecution for taking that medicine. However, those who are unable to sustain the costly prescription costs for a private prescription, who are consuming exactly the same medication, often in exactly the same way for exactly the same condition, are at threat of prosecution. And it absolutely is their job to decide if that is priority for their officers, who they send out to do a job. And, this is, we aren't talking about an illegal scheme. Cancard is not an illegal scheme. Cancard, could not have worked with the senior police that we've got, with the solicitors, with the barristers, with the legal team that we have, if this was in any way illegal. Schemes do not need to be endorsed by Parliament in order for them to be legal. And we do have the support of the Conservative Party Drug Reform Group, the Labour Party Drug Reform Group, the Green Party and the Lib Dems. So, we do have a lot of support from Parliament, and those people have been incredibly helpful and supportive in initiating and helping us to design this scheme.
So we're in a situation where we've got a pressure group who want to use cannabis. Some of them will be really sick people who are desperate, and I acknowledge that. Some of them have been led to believe that cannabis solves their problems, and it's almost been, I jest slightly, but anything from ingrowing toenails to Alzheimer's disease. And obviously that can't be the case. It isn't the case.
So I wouldn't jest at all about the patients that we support. And, you can't get a Cancard for ingrown toenails, Chris, I'm afraid. But no, I wouldn't. This is a very serious issue, and patients are, at the moment, if they were in another country, they would be under clinical supervision. If they had the financial resources, they would be under clinical supervision with a product that matches that they are already consuming. The only difference at the moment here is the cost barrier, and that creating a two-tier system. And I would say that, we might be a pressure group. We might be a pressure group because we work with Parliament, because we campaign in order to make a change for the law. And I don't necessarily think that is a bad thing.
There are barriers because it's an illegal substance. They want to self-medicate, and self-medication may not be advisable. If these people are in real clinical need of something, they're presumably getting something from their doctor, and using cannabis at the same time, there may be all sorts of reasons why you should not use both substances together.
So I think we're kind of past the point now, aren't we, where we suspect that cannabis isn't a medicine. I think that that's a really old, sort of archaic way of thinking. A legal substance, it was made legal in 2018. We recognised that this medicine had medicinal value, and that it should be available. The issues are that there have been stumbling blocks with processes and with our internal mechanisms that have allowed this to be more widely available. So whether it is an illegal substance or a legal substance depends on whether you can afford a private prescription. So at the moment, what we're trying to do is level that playing field so that people who can't afford that private prescription or that piece of paper aren't living in fear of potential criminal involvement, of fines, of police coming through their door at 5 in the morning just for taking a medicine that Sue down the road can access because she's got an extra £2,000 a month spare. So that's what I'd say to that. There is a point in this where I do actually agree with, and that is around possible contraindications with medicines. And I firmly believe that GPs who are at the centre of the patient's care, particularly if that patient is introduced to other pharmaceuticals or consuming other medicines, should be aware of that patient's consumption of cannabis. And actually the way that we've set up Cancard is via engagement of GPs. Fair enough, a patient has got the right not to engage their GP if they don't want to, and that has been designed because the NHS at the moment prevent access to mental health services for people who are consuming something that isn't prescribed. However, the majority of patients have chosen to go to their GP and have their GP confirm their condition with Cancard. And what that has done is open up this conversation and bring that GP into the conversation so that that GP understands that that patient is consuming cannabis and all contraindications can be taken into account. And I think that's really important. So I totally agree with you on that.
But cannabis, let's be clear, cannabis is trivialised, but cannabis is a poison. It is a poison.
I'm not sure that anybody that I am aware of still believes that cannabis is a poison, but let's just pick up on that point. The definition of a poison is a substance that is capable of causing illness or death of a living organism when introduced or absorbed. That is scientifically impossible. So if we're talking science and we're talking about what a poison actually is, then cannabis does not fit into that category whatsoever. The other definition of a poison is a substance that reduces the activity of a catalyst. And again, that is scientifically completely incorrect. We all have an endocannabinoid system with which we can receive this medicine. So we produce our endocannabinoids like anandamide that we have specific receptors all over our body for. And what those receptors do, they're in our organs, they're in our brain, they're in our cells. And what those receptors do is they moderate our homeostasis, which sounds like a really long-winded word, but all that means is balance, essentially. So if you have inflammation in your body, that receptor can control that. So that receptor can pull down the inflammation in your body when active. And so we're talking about a supplement, not a poison. Fair enough, cannabis at higher doses can cause somewhat of an uncomfortable response. But for anybody who's taken vitamin D at high doses and has sat on the toilet for 3 hours will testify that any supplement taken into extreme is going to give you some side effects. However, used sensibly and used medicinally and used appropriately, what we're seeing actually is that already 1.4 million people in the UK using this substance really successfully. You know, countries that have a really incredible scientific community like Israel, America, Canada, Germany, Italy, you know, even Thailand, those places, they are embracing this as a medicine because they've understood it. They've understood that the word poison and the connotations with this being a harmful substance is actually quite archaic thinking. And that is not necessarily true when you look at the science. So what I'd like to do with anybody who disputes that this is a medicine is bring you back to the science and encourage that you do some reading around it and educate yourself as to what the possibilities of this plant is and can be. I personally see this working day on day, day in, day out. I see this working for patients with a massive range of conditions, and that's because it's a supplement which helps balance our systems, and that is something that is scientifically accurate.